Alright, next Humvee video is going to be about front springs. So what I've found through my research is that front springs average about $250 a piece up to $600 or $700 a piece. So that's a pretty wide range of pricing, and you may not even be sure that you're gonna get what you actually want, meaning the outcome of what you expect with the spring is gonna be what you really wanted it to be. Most standard Humvee springs are 13.36 inches when they are not under any type of a load, when they're just standing alone like they are in the video right here. And then there is one set of a Humvee spring that is about 12.36 inches, which is rated as a 1,750 pound spring, also called a snowplow spring. That is what these springs are, and I got these because they were only $90 each, and it was a very low shipping cost. It was only about $50 to have them shipped. So for this price, I decided to just go ahead and give it a shot and see what the results are. The reason is the springs that I have in my truck now cause the front to have more of a sag than what I want. About a year ago, I initially just went with the a spring spacer on both sides to raise it up some, and it definitely helped out a little bit. I'm running 38-inch tires. But the issue that I found now is I was on a trail last week, and as I was going up to a embankment, and a lot of load was just put on one side of a front wheel, where a lot of weight was on that side, the spring was compressing enough that the tire was just starting to rub the outer fender area. It wasn't digging in, it wasn't causing any damage, but it was just starting to rub enough that it concerned me. So what I'm hoping is that a heavier spring will prevent as much compression when there's more weight added to it in a situation like that. Now, some people are gonna say it's gonna ride like crap and this and that, and hey, you know, it might. I don't know. But for $150, which is what I spent for both springs, for about $240, which is what I spent for both springs. To me, that's really not a big deal to do some testing and see what happens. Now, the springs that are in here now, I've taken some measurements, and the springs that are in here now, as they sit compressed, because I'm gonna do comparisons of before and after, so you'll see the differences if you're trying to kind of decide what the springs are going to do for you. So before, when it just sits in its regular state, it's about 9 3/4 to the top portion of the spring, and then there is about just under an inch where the spring spacer is. Now this spring is just under 12 3/4, so it's pretty consistent with what it's advertised as. So I've also taken measurements of the ground to the lower portion of the hood fender as a tree height, and I've written that down, and then I'll be taking measurements as a post to see what the difference is. Your ground height to hood may obviously be different initially if you take those measurements, and mine based on your tire height. So at this point, I'm going to get into changing out the springs, and well, first I'm going to paint them. I'm going to clean them up, the black ones up, and paint them tan, and then I will get into changing them, and we will see how it all turns out. One thing you might notice is how it's all wet. Not actually oil, it's fluid film, which is a great product. Basically a metal protector. Stops rust, prevents corrosion, protects the metal. If you have it up on the truck and you go mudding, the mud's going to stick to the fluid film, not the actual metal, and it's going to make it easier to clean the mud off, and then you can respray the fluid film after it dries. Highly recommend. Spray the whole underside of your truck with fluid film, or wool wax, which is same brand. It's just a different version of the product. It's a little bit thicker. bit of pressure to that lower A-arm will help you pull the top pin out of your shock. Okay, now pretty much all I have to do is just take the bottom ball joint also, while I was had the wheel jacked up, I started checking the steering and I found that I have a bad idler arm. So one more small project I'm going to have to complete. Tie rod. like the way they designed these, the nut and bolt system for these lower ball joints. The lack of accessibility and ease to remove them should have been designed a lot better. Alright. Everything's off. The bolts out. Hoping that there's going to be just enough room to make it work with the bolts in. Apparently not.
I'm going to try to get it out really quick without putting a spring compressor in there. It might. Alright, so let's see what the measurement is on this one compared to the ones I'm going to be putting in. Kind of get an idea if this one has sagged over time and how much. Gotta find my tape measure. So this one's at, it's actually at the right height. It's at about 13.36. So the standard height seems to be okay, but it, let's see how this one looks compared to these ones. So the snowplow spring, without a doubt, is significantly thicker. It is, when you look at them side to side, we're not talking much of a difference at all. So with what this one compressed down to, if this one compresses less on just its standard ride height, it's probably still going to sit higher than this one was. And let's see if the spacer will fit in here if I decide I want to use it. So the spacer would mount on this side, and it will. So I can still use the spacer with this if I want. And that's it. So next step is going to be putting it all back together. Alright, so the drive side is back together. Now it's time to lower it down, take the measurements, see how they compare to the other spring. Alright, the drive side was 41 3/8 with the old spring. So it was 41 3/8. Oh, Jesus Christ. So it was 41 3/8. And now we're at 43 and 3/16, just under 43 1/4. So 41 3/8 to 43 1/4, using a spring that is an inch lower. So this spring is this snowplow spring was an inch lower than the other springs. The other springs are 13 3/6. This one's 12 3/6. This one's a 1,750 pound spring, and most Humvee springs are 950 pound and then 1250 pound. And then this one's a 1750, and then the Humvee, the H1 Hummer Alpha springs with the Duramax are a 3,000 pound spring. So it looks like it was a good idea not to put in the spacer. And I'll do the other side, and then I'm gonna see if I can find that idler arm, and I'll take it for a drive, see if these springs settle in, and I'll be measuring it over a couple weeks and see if it settles in a little bit. I hope this helped you out if you're thinking about replacing your front springs and you're not sure what ones to go with. If you have any questions, just send me a comment, and thanks for watching. I also forgot to add the final height when it's resting under compression, and it's about 11 3/4, so it's more than the taller spring under its standard compression.